Hello, this is Myra Elaine on the Buying Space channel. First of all, I want to apologize for the background noise if you hear any. There's an angry bird in this tree. I don't know why he's angry, but he's chirping angrily, and I'm running a fan. And also, Marty is in their room, and you'll hear maybe occasionally a tapping or a giggle. And that's all normal stuff around here. Oh, there's a happier bird. But anyway, today for my adult Bible studies, I must again warn you all that my adult Bible studies are adult. And a lot of times I'll be doing Bible studies, or I'll be watching a video, or I'll be thinking about, the plan of my channel. Right now, I am reading the Torah, and I was wondering, and this is probably a year away that I would finish the first 5 books of the Old Testament in my Torah reading. But I always think, well, and I'll get to the end of the Torah, am I going to stop? And am I going to go into Joshua or Judges? And occasionally I'll run across material about Judges. So I had watched a video about Judges, and Judges, oh my gosh, mayhem, chaos, and murder, and mass murder in Judges. I'm telling you, very, very dark and adult content. And I had become curious about Samson's wives and love life, because I don't know whether he was married to Delilah or not. Now, Delilah was the person that figured out what Samson's strength came from. And then that's how he was defeated, because of the deceptions of woman. Well, Samson was involved with 3 major women in his life, but he may have slept with hundreds of women. Solomon did not have anything on Samson. Samson was very athletic, muscular warrior with long, wavy hair, and was just probably gorgeous. I mean, we don't know for sure. But the first instance we find with Samson romantically was him and his wife. He got married, and something happened at the wedding party. A riddle gone wrong. And his fiancée/bride convinced him to tell the solution to a riddle he proposed. And so she told. So he had to pay, which resulted in 30 people dying. And after that, he was a little miffed at her, and the tension continued to be there, and he left. And after he left, his father-in-law remarried his daughter to one of the people that had been at the wedding party. So he comes back, and the father-in-law tells him, sorry, your bride is gone, but, I have this other daughter. Okay? So he was married and divorced. And then he had a relationship with a Gazan prostitute. And then after that, he met Delilah. But I guess there were a couple of times that he was imprisoned in Gaza. And one of those times, now this is per Google, I haven't found this in the scriptures. This is probably in some Jewish text. I don't know if it's in the Talmud or where it is written, but it is written that while he was in a prison in Gaza, the husbands of the Gazan women would bring their wives to Samson for Samson to sleep with them, because he was so strong. They wanted their wives to bear strong sons. So they had their wives sleep with Samson. Poor Samson. Oh my gosh. What a life for a man to lay around in a prison all day and have sex with women. What a horrible life. Anyway, so I don't know if there are descendants of Samson running around because of those jailhouse visits. I mean, oh my gosh. So anyway, I was already thinking about Samson. Now also, I'm in a life group with my pastor, and I had ordered a book to go along with the life group. And we're in the Advent season. So the book was about all these stories about people in the Bible and in history that were born under unusual circumstances. And some of those circumstances are somewhat similar to the circumstances of Christ's death. Although, death, what am I saying? Birth. Because Christ's birth, Mary was a virgin and conceived through God. Now, I don't know of any other circumstance like that, but there are tons of stories in the Bible about barren women who wanted to have children. And two of those, and I didn't realize this before last week, one of those was Samson and the other one was Samuel. Now, I was very aware of Samuel's story and his mother being barren and dedicating her son to God. And Samson's mother was also barren. So, but I also wanted to say, after I was studying Samson already, the book for the life group arrived. And it's called A Child is Born. Now, I made the mistake and I got the leader guide. I didn't get the actual book. So I have time to get that before we continue on. But the first part of it was about Ishmael and Isaac, and we covered that in the life group yesterday. And the next one is about Samson. Now, because of timing and the events of the Advent season, my pastor is skipping Samson and going to Samuel, which I already know. So I thought, okay, I'll go ahead and read Samson. I was already studying Samson and going to do a Bible study about Samson when this book arrived. And Amy Jill Levine covered Samson. So I was like, oh, okay. So I guess I need to read about Samson. But another thing that in the history of unusual births, I don't know why Abraham is not mentioned, because I'm sure there are other examples. I mean, this book, this series could not cover all of the unusual births in the Bible and throughout history. But Abraham himself, this first chapter talks about Ishmael and Isaac. But Abraham was born in a cave. And I don't know if it was him or Enoch. Now, Enoch was born under unusual circumstances, and so was Noah. And I may talk about that because it's not in this book. And even though Samson's in this book, it's not being covered in my life group. So I'm going to cover Samson. But Abraham was born in a cave. And he was born at a time that his ruler was Nimrod. Now, Nimrod was a polytheistic person, and Abraham was a monotheistic person. And actually, Abraham's father sold idols. That was, I think, his business was to sell idols. And, of course, he was converted to worship Yahweh later. But he sold idols to all these people that worshipped all these other deities in the Ur of Chaldees. But Nimrod ordered all the male babies murdered. Sound familiar? Just like Herod, he ordered the male babies murdered. And he hated Abraham so much, he burnt him at the stake. But God intervened, and the fire was made into a pool in the miracle of the salvation of Abraham versus Nimrod. And all the fire logs that were around the stake that he was being burnt on, or the furnace that turned into the pool, the logs were turned into fish. And that pool exists until this day. It's in Turkey. It's at a mosque in Turkey that has these beautiful gardens. They have this big pool that was the pool of Abraham, and it's full of fish. And no one's allowed to fish those fish. They are treated as holy. And the Muslims have a mosque there. And the Muslims, being also descended from Abraham, in honor of Abraham, keep those grounds. They protect the fish, and they preserve the story of the circumstances of Abraham's birth. And just because actually Nimrod is in the Bible, and that involves the story of the Tower of Babel. Nimrod built the Tower of Babel to show that Yahweh, to defy Yahweh. That was his whole purpose, was to show him up. And of course that failed. But, you know, I'm really surprised because of the, you know, Nimrod versus Herod and how similar they were and their circumstances, and them ordering that the male children be massacred. And they were in both instances. So that's a very similar story to the political opposition that existed during the birth of Abraham and Jesus Christ. But let me move on to Samson, our pimped out prophet or judge. Now, I have to say that in Judges, now, like I said before, Judges is messed up. It's lots and lots of murder and killing, and Israel going back and forth between Yahweh and paganism, and Yahweh and paganism, and getting punished over and over. And every time there's renewal of faith, you know, like that child that keeps messing up, and then when they get in trouble, they're sorry and they behave for a while, and then they misbehave again, over and over. So here we go in chapter 13 of Judges, talking about Samson's birth. The seventh apostasy, which is when they basically backslid and became pagan again, and servitude. And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord. Gosh, God has to be tired of this. Anyway, and the Lord delivered them into the hands of the Philistines for 40 years. The parents of Samson. And there was a certain man of Zorah, of the family of the Danites. So they were from the tribe of Dan. And those name was Manoah, not Noah, but Manoah. And his wife was barren and bare not. So here we have another barren woman, just like Sarah and just like Mary. No, Mary wasn't barren, so that's not similar. But there were Samuel's mother, whose prayers in 1 Samuel was barren. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto the woman. Here we have an angel appearing before Samson's mother, just like Jesus' mother. But in this case, the angel did not impregnate Samson's mother. And said unto her, Behold, now thou art barren and bearest not, but thou shalt conceive and bear a son, also a son. Now therefore beware, I pray thee, and drink not wine, nor strong drink, nor eat not any unclean thing. And the list is long. For lo, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come on his head, for the child will be a Nazarene unto God from the womb, and shall begin to deliver Israel out of the land of the Philistines. Now, when I saw Nazarene, I thought it was a person from Nazareth. But Nazarenes existed before Christ was ever born. So let me see if see, that's from the Great Flood. That's the wrong note. Okay. Give me just a moment here. I think that's E. Numbers 6, verse 2. I have not read Numbers 6, verse 2. So I'm doing a little bit of this off the cuff. But the Nazarenes, like, are you familiar with Opus Dei in the Catholic Church? There are, in the Jewish culture and religion, even back in the Old Testament, there were divisions, and there were organizations that were extra, let's say. So the Nazarenes were an organization. Okay, the order of hosts, the Nazarenes. And Lord made unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When either man or woman shall separate themselves to vows, a vow of a Nazarite, Nazarite, to separate themselves unto the Lord. So this is a group of men and women, and they didn't necessarily form a group. I have to research that. But they wanted to take an extra vow to be closer to God and more devoted, like the Opus Dei in the Catholic Church. And I don't know if the Nazarites were as different from the regular Catholics as the Nazarites were from most Jewish people that made an effort to stay clean versus unclean. They made extraordinary efforts. He shall separate himself from wine and strong drink. So wine and strong drink were allowed, but if you want to be a Nazarite, you had to be extra holy. And thou shalt drink no vinegar of wine or vinegar of strong drink, neither shall eat moist grapes or dried. So not the liquor of grapes. And the days of his separation shall he eat nothing that is made of the vine tree, from the kernels even to the husk. So no grape leaves, stuffed grape leaves. Couldn't do that. And all the days of the vow of his separation there shall be no razor upon his head until the days fulfilled in which he separateth himself unto the Lord. He shall be holy, and shall let the locks of his hair of his head grow. And all the days that he separateth himself unto the Lord, he shall not come to a dead body, and he shall not make himself unclean for his father, or for his mother, for his brother, or for his sister, then when they die, because of the consecration of God is upon his head. So even if a family member died, most people would have a service, have a funeral, be around the dead body of their loved one, cry on top of their body. And, but in Jewish law, you would be unclean when that happened. Most people did that. And then they would go through the ceremony of becoming clean again. So as a Nazirite, you would not even, under ordinary circumstances where you would become unclean, you would not even do that. You would break with custom on that. So here, Samson is a Nazirite from birth. And then the woman came and told her husband, saying, a man of God came unto me, and his countenance was like the countenance of an angel of God, very terrible. But I asked him not whence he was, neither told me his name. So she was so nervous that she didn't ask any questions. But he said unto me, behold, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and now drink no wine or strong drink, neither eat any unclean thing, for the child shall be a Nazirite to God from the womb to the day of his death. Then Manoah interested in the Lord and said, O my Lord, let the men of God which thou didst send come again unto us, and teach us what we shall do unto the child, that shall be born. So he was wanting more instructions, and he was wanting to become part of it because he was the father. He should be. It was natural. And God hearkened unto the voice of Manoah, and the angel of God came again unto the woman as she sat in the field. But her husband, was not with her. But he had questions he'd given her. And the woman made haste and ran and showed her husband and said unto him, behold, the man hath appeared unto me and came unto me the other day. And Manoah rose and went after his wife and came to the man and said unto him, art thou the man that spake unto the woman? And he said, I am. And Manoah said, now let thy words come to pass. How shall we order the child, and how shall we do unto him? So he's probably thinking about taking him to the temple, or I don't think there was a temple at this point, but he was wanting lots more instructions. And the angel of the Lord said unto Manoah, of all that I have said unto the woman, let her beware. She may not eat anything that cometh from the vine, neither let her drink wine or strong drink, nor eat any unclean thing. All that I